And today, and not for the first time, we need to talk about big tech and the social media platforms and search engines that promised us a libertarian paradise of freewheeling free speech, but which have now become a cat's paw for a hard left elite that wants to decide what you are allowed to say and whose opinions you are allowed to hear. We saw it before the election with the concerted effort to keep American voters from hearing about the contents of the Hunter Biden laptop, and we saw it after the election with the banning of Donald Trump from social media platforms, even to the point where Facebook and Instagram recently disallowed an interview Trump did with his daughter-in-law, lest the mere sound of his voice online provoke, who knows, an insurrection. They really sound confident about that election win, don't they? But anyway, we also saw it just last week when YouTube censored a video issued by Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, DeSantis had held a roundtable with medical experts, physicians, and scientists, including great friend of this program, Stanford epidemiologist Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. But YouTube pulled it, claiming the video spread COVID misinformation, particularly concerning and citing a part of the discussion where it was discussed about whether it was appropriate to force small children to wear masks. The fact is that Florida has been far more successful fighting coronavirus with its relatively light touch than many Democrat states that went the full lockdown and mask mandates, and as such, Florida has been the target of the woke left for the past year because of it. And this Orwellian behavior shows just what the problem is with big tech. Rather than making public figures more accountable to the people, it makes the platforms the ultimate arbiter of truth. Anyway, it's a huge problem, one which Trump wasn't able to grapple with fully when he was in office, and one which Republicans seem all too disinterested in doing something about now. But there may be a way forward. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and not for the first time, may very well have figured out the roadmap. Writing a concurring opinion to a decision of the Supreme Court where Trump was sued for blocking people from his Twitter account, something that every public figure does all the time, Justice Thomas made the point that the far bigger danger was not the president blocking a few users, but the possibility of big tech giants censoring all of us from the public square. Quote, one person controls Facebook and two control Google, Thomas wrote in his decision, noting that any of them can, for any reason, unperson any of us. Blasting the libertarian argument that these are simply private companies free to do whatever they like, Thomas wrote that these tech giants have become so big you can't avoid them, and that as such, they have an obligation to take all comers regardless of their opinion or what they might be saying. Quote, he said, there is a fair argument that some digital platforms are sufficiently akin to common carriers or places of accommodation to be regulated in this manner, he said. If the analogy between common carriers and digital platforms is correct, then an answer may arise for dissatisfied platform users who would appreciate not being blocked, laws that restrict the platform's right to exclude. The similarities between some digital platforms and common carriers or places of public accommodation may give legislators strong arguments for similarly regulating digital platforms, he wrote, concluding, in other words, at the moment, airlines, telephones, companies, and restaurants cannot ban you just because of your political opinions, though there are some that would like to see that change. Thomas's point is that the same rules should apply to big tech, which have shown no qualms about using their power to advance a woke, progressive agenda.